All right, so we're back with another episode where we talk about movies that none of you have seen and none of you want to see. So, yeah, hope you have fun.
Or movies that you have seen and have heard lots of people talk about before.
Yeah, probably not all of them, but at least one of them on my list is pretty famous. So I guess I'll start with my honorable mentions real quick. So, the first one I put on was The Royal Tenenbaums by Wes Anderson. And I wasn't really... I watched it mainly because I saw the recent one, The Phoenician Scheme, in theaters. And it was, like, fine, but I decided to, like, get into Wes Anderson more or, like, try to finish off his films. And the first one I watched after that was The Royal Tenenbaums. And I was extremely surprised by how much I liked it. I'm not a Wes Anderson fan, really. But I thought this was exceptional, especially with how he uses, like, cinematic language to imply something. I don't want to spoil it entirely, but there's like a specific relationship dynamic that he implies through how he like moves the camera, and it's extremely compelling when it like is revealed about midway through the film. So I put The Royal Tenenbaums mainly because it was like such a surprise, and Gene Hackman's really good in it, so you gotta watch it for him. And then the second one I have is Los Angeles Plays Itself by Tom Anderson. It's basically like a video essay. It's a documentary from 2003 about like Los Angeles and how it's portrayed in the movies versus how it is in real life. And for a 3-hour documentary, it's one of the most entertaining things that you probably will ever watch. And then the last honorable mention I've got is The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan. The main reason I put it on was because I like how the film is... It's like a superhero film, but it also is like very complex in terms of what it's going for philosophically towards the end, and it resolves in such a way that it's more like morally complex or morally ambiguous, and I find that really compelling how they like went for something more not easy to deal with, like a Pyrrhic victory. So
yeah, The Dark Knight is a movie that I've had a complex relationship with over the years because I like many folks loved it when I was a teenager, and then when I got to college I thought it was pretty cool to not like The Dark Knight. And
yeah.
But now in my old age, I see that The Dark Knight is a good superhero film.
Yeah,
and that it has more to bring to the table than just Heath Ledger's performance. There's a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, Heath Ledger's great in it. Like, he definitely deserved his Oscar. But when I think about what I like about the film, it's more just like how it ends and like how the Joker like creates that Pyrrhic victory where Batman has to like sacrifice himself.
Yeah,
it's like perfect. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, my honorable mentions, starting with one that you recommended to me, but haven't seen in typical John fashion.
Of course.
Blood Tea and Red String by Christiane Chegovsky. I'm not sure if I'm saying her last name correctly, but I think it's a Romanian last name, so I think it would be Chegovsky. From 2006. So this is in keeping with, from our last video, the Adam unheard of movie special of the honorable mentions. You know,
it's like, a good slot to have.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. I don't know if it would be in my top 10 for the 2000s. It might, honestly, but it's not. It's not like 8th, 7th, or 6th probably. But it is such a weird thing. And such a fascinating little thing. I really recommend it to people because this movie is shot entirely in stop motion. It's the culmination of 13 years of work on the part of Chegovsky. Just like slowly, gradually filming these little stop motion anthropomorphic animals. It's a very strange watch. It's sort of like Frog and Toad meets... I don't know, David Lynch or Grimm's Fairy Tales. It's got a very hard, dark edge to it, but it's also very mystical, very... sort of like a female hero's journey, I would say, like a distinctly female version of the hero's journey. So really neat, really recommended to anyone who kind of likes Wes Anderson, anyone who likes stop motion. It's amazing. It's a fantastic little movie.
Yeah, that one looks terrific. That's why I recommended it to you without having seen it. I found it once. I was like, this looks great. You should check it out. You know.
Yeah.
And you actually did.
It's a great recommendation.
Yeah, now I have to watch it.
It's such a weird feeling movie in a good way, but in a strange way.
I love it.
My next honorable mention is another really famous movie that I felt I needed to include because so much of my list of the actual top 5 is deeply fucked up.
Yeah.
This is Ratatouille, directed by
nice.
Brad Bird from 2007. He's also
Lovely.
directing The Incredibles. In the early 2000s were a wonderful run for Pixar movies, and I think Ratatouille is kind of the crown jewel of a bunch of really good kids movies that came out of Pixar. We've talked before about how it really feels like a French indie movie in a lot of ways, in a good way. And it also just has this lovely message about being yourself and letting your art speak for itself. And I always kind of internalize it that, like, the rat and Remy are actually, like, the same person. Like, the rat is just the side of Remy that doesn't... Or Remy is the rat, sorry.
Yeah.
What's the chef's name?
Linguini.
Linguini, yeah. Remy and Linguini are the same person to me. Like, the rat is just, like, the side of the artist that, like, doesn't fit in with society and doesn't really, like... You're not really comfortable showing to people, but, like, that's also what you have to tap into to be able to make something that matters. And so it's a great kids movie, and it's really thought-provoking, too.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This actually was almost on my list, honorable mentions.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't do it is because I was thinking about that in The Dark Knight, and I was like, The Dark Knight, I like the complexity, or, like, the more ambiguity better.
Yeah.
But Ratatouille is terrific. Like, it's... I know people love Hayao Miyazaki, but this is the best animated film of the decade.
Yeah, controversy.
Yeah. Hayao Miyazaki's great, but not Ratatouille great.
Yeah. And then my last honorable mention is Inland Empire by David Lynch.
Yes.
I am a devotee of this film, regardless of what anyone thinks of it. I love its audacity. I love that it is, like, over 3 hours long and is shot on a terrible camera and is essentially impenetrable. It is the Finnegan's Wake of David Lynch's filmography, and I think that that's really cool. I like how it feels... It is the closest thing I've ever seen in film to what dreams actually feel like for me, and I think much like a dream, the way to engage with it is to just, like, watch it and come away, and without trying to over-engineer anything, just kind of, like, allow whatever spoke to you to sort of organize the experience in your mind. I don't think there's anything even resembling a true plot or underlying narrative.
I mean, I guess if you want to be technical about it, there is a plot, because, like, everything has a plot, but you could spoil the plot and it would spoil nothing. Like, you could just, like, explain the whole, like, what happens beat by beat, and it will give you nothing. I'm glad this was in your honorable mentions, because I cannot talk about this, like, intelligibly. Like, it's that impenetrable. I've seen it, like, 2 or 3 times, maybe, and it's, like, I don't understand a thing about that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to invest too much time, but since it's an honorable mention, but, I mean, I do think, like, well, maybe I won't get too into it just because there is another David Lynch movie that I suspect is going to show up in the top 5.
Okay.
And it's, you know, you have to understand Inland Empire in particular out of all David Lynch movies, I think, in context with the rest of his filmography. It's the last true movie that he made for a reason. Like, that there's a reason for that. I think it really plays into what the movie is trying to do. But I just like how eclectic it is. You've got, like, the rabbits stuff worked in, which is super spooky. That was one of the first pieces of David Lynch material I was ever exposed to, was the
creepy.
Rabbits TV series. It's got great music in it, like every David Lynch movie does. And yeah, it's eldritch.
Yeah, if you want to hear our thoughts about that, subscribe to Patreon.
Yes.
For a 5-minute review where we talk about how confusing it is. Interesting. Okay. So, my number 5 is Pulse from 2001. It's directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who is becoming more popular due to his film Cure becoming more popular. Pulse is, it's the one about the internet. It's about 2 groups of people who are kind of encountering this phenomenon of, like, these rooms all throughout the city. I guess it's Tokyo or wherever. There's, like, ghosts involved in them and being transmitted through the internet and stuff like that. Basically, ghosts are in these rooms, and whenever people, like, enter these rooms, they come out with, like, symptoms of depression. Generally speaking, they end up committing suicide at like, the end of this. So I did a little bit of research into this film to try to understand exactly what was going on, and I found an interview. I have the Arrow Blu-ray, so they had an interview with Kiyoshi Kurosawa kind of explaining it, and I found a really good YouTube video, which I'll put in the description, I guess. It's from a channel called Cinema Nippon, I think, and it was a really, really strong review, so I'll put that in. But basically, the way that my impression is that there's a famous Japanese ghost story where a man is haunted by a ghost for his whole life, and he's like tormented by this ghost. And then when the man dies, the ghost greets him in the afterworld. And this kind of reflects something about how we assume the afterlife is... We assume it's not lonely, and the central horror of Pulse is that when people encounter these ghosts, the ghosts are saying stuff like, actually, there is nothing here. It's just as lonely. And the horror behind that is that if the modern life is lonely, the afterlife is not a relief. So that's like the central concept of it. I think what makes it kind of compelling as like a ghost story. And obviously it plays into the internet. It's this very early internet, so it's like most people don't know what like the keys on a keyboard is. Like there's one guy, he's just getting on the internet because his friends are on it, and he has no idea what like a URL is or anything. So it's like very early on in this, but it still taps into like the isolation that we associate with the internet, where people are like lonelier than ever, even though we're theoretically more connected than ever. So, but I like how it does that with a ghost story, or how it like tries to subverts the ghost story in doing that. So that's what I find most compelling about it. It's also like it doesn't really have. I don't think it has any jump scares, but it is genuinely one of the creepiest films I've ever seen. And for those who have seen it, the scene that everyone knows about, if you've seen it, is so effective. I think the lady that they cast for it is a ballerina, and that's why she's able to do like hit her performance that well. And that's all I'm gonna say, because I don't think Adam's seen it.
I have not seen it. Sounds like we're up to some Suspiria type dance related violence, perhaps.
Yeah. It's not quite a dance, but it's like, well, it sort of is, but there's specific, like, how do I put it, movements that are very uncanny valley, and I think they hired a ballerina to do it, and it's very effective. Like when I first saw it, I was like, it sent a chill up my spine. Like, as even today, even though like I know what happens, it's still that kind of film where it can take the body temperature down. It's that kind of movie. So that's in my opinion the ideal of what a horror movie should do. Even if it can't like scare you, it should still like make you feel colder. Also find it very interesting. At the end, they like all board a boat, and they're trying to like find other people because everyone's like, the city's like abandoned, and they found like signals in South America, and the signals are like. It's very interesting how they'll go all the way around the world to try to find people. Like, that desire for human connection is still there. But the horror is that, like, that human connection will not be fulfilled, even in the afterlife. So, that's the central idea of Pulse.
I love that we got some J-horror on this list.
Yeah.
Because, unfortunately, my list doesn't have any, and we're both big fans of the genre, and the early 2000s in particular were just a wonderful time for horror-adjacent and... straightforwardly horror Japanese movies.
Definitely.
I'm curious, how do you think like Pulse relates or compares to some of the other like well-known J-horror films? Like, does it feel of a piece with them? Is it kind of like similar, or? I
mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of them. I mean, I've seen like classic ones like Onibaba, but that's from like the 60s. Compared to like Audition by Takashi Miike, which I really like that film. But that film is more intense and gruesome, and Ichi the Killer is definitely more gruesome. But that one's also like not cold. It's more just like makes you wince, you know. So I would say like it's not as like gory or gruesome, even though it does have like depictions of suicide like on screen. But it's more just like a cold like just gray atmosphere, and that's something that Cure does really well. Also, it is really effective at that. So it's more of an atmosphere kind of thing.
Cool. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to watch that at some point, maybe in October.
Definitely.
Spooky season once again.
100%.
Well, speaking of spooky season, my number 5 is Antichrist by Lars von Trier.
I thought this would show up.
In 2009. So I'm fresh off of a Antichrist rewatch this morning.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to decide whether I was going to include it in the top 5.
Okay.
And I did. The biggest impression that I came away from this morning's viewing is just the extent to which I love the way this movie looks. It's got a very unique visual style, and it's probably not for everybody, but I think it is awesome, and I feel like it hits every visual beat perfectly throughout. I wrote down the names. Anthony Dodd Mantle is the cinematographer, and Peter Hjorth did the visual effects, but also was very involved, I think, in the cinematography on this movie. And Mantle is, I want to deliberately go and watch more of his movies because I enjoyed some interviews with him about how he did Antichrist. He's a regular Von Trier collaborator, but he also lots of Norwegian or Nordic filmmakers collaborate with him, like Vinterberg regularly collaborates with Mantle.
Yeah. So
I don't know, maybe his other movies aren't quite as interesting looking as Antichrist. Maybe it's just Lars von Trier, but yeah, they did a lot of interesting VFX stuff where it brings in computer generated imagery, and you can tell that it's CG, but it's very seamless in terms of the aesthetic of the movie. Whether it's the animated animals throughout the movie or the weird surreal hyper slow shots with the acorns falling on Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, those are some of my most distinct memories of that film.
Yeah.
The slow-mo stuff.
Yes. And some of it also is not animated and even the acorn scene, that and the opening scene where the kid falls, all of that's done with I think what they call hyper fast filming or something like that.
I know what you're talking. I know that they, for the acorn one specifically, they blasted light on the set so that it's just for the camera, but it's it's a technical thing. But they had to blast the set with light, and it was lots of energy and very hot. So
yes, and they were talking about why because those cameras are capturing a much higher rate of images per instant than a normal camera is. And they were talking about how when they were actually shooting at the cabin in the woods, it was a real problem because they needed so much power to light and run everything. And they were actually in the middle of rural Germany, and they kept burning out their generators and stuff.
Dang.
So I mean, as much as I have thoughts on the story that I am going to share, I am more interested in the interpretation side of the movie, and that's what gets me going. With Antichrist, it really is just it's so unique how it looks. I love it. I feel like it never fails throughout. And even the Chaos Reigns fox that everybody knows about, it's so interesting how they made that, because it's a composite of a real fox's face that they had trained that was on set, and a CGI fox that they animated for the body. And so that's why it looks really neat and lifelike, and it's not exactly seamless. You can tell that it's CG, but it doesn't take you out of the general aesthetic of the movie at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've seen that scene a number of times. I never really think of it being CGI.
Yeah.
I mean, it's talking fox.
Yeah.
But it's pretty effective. It's a really good effect.
Yeah.
So, holds up.
100%. I mean, as far as the story itself, it's obviously an example of 2000s extremity, which I feel is almost its own genre. I know a lot of that's influenced by the new French extremity, but the ones I've seen are mostly not French, actually.
Yeah, with the Hanukkah stuff.
Yeah.
Technically French, but the director is not. He's Austrian.
Hanukkah's an example. Ichi the Killer's an example. Antichrist is an example. So lots of maybe interpretation that we could do there in terms of why the 2000s saw this outburst of really extreme stuff. I haven't seen all of it, but I do like Antichrist because I personally feel it is in service of something. Von Trier famously made this, or wrote this in a depressive episode, and as I was watching it this time, knowing a little bit more about Jungian psychology than I did the first time I saw it, and actually learning during watching some of the special features that Von Trier knows about Jungian psychology too.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people maybe misread about this movie is that the woman is probably much more intended to be a projection of Von Trier's own psyche than she is to be really any commentary on femininity more broadly, or women in society. Because a very crucial Jungian concept is the idea of the anima, which is to really simplify is the idea that men relate to their unconscious through a feminine aspect. They perceive their subconscious as a feminine. So if you think about Von Trier writing this movie while he's deeply depressed and suicidal, all of the violence that's visited on this character is really self-harm, I think. And he hasn't quite said that, but he's basically hinted at this movie was very therapeutic for him, and he needed to get it out. So I think the movie is less trying to say something about the evil of woman, and more the idea that as a human, if you look within, you find this horrible, like, nature-like void that applies to everyone. And that's certainly true of, like, Willem Dafoe's character, because by the end, he winds up... One way of looking at the movie, the way I view it, is, like, he winds up getting pulled into the woman's, like, nature worship, nature is Satan's church, like, chaos reigns kind of attitude, because he murders her.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
I guess
he's no better than her.
Yeah, he gets, like, affected by it to the point of losing himself.
Yeah. So, yeah, lots of thoughts about that stuff, but I really liked the moment where he realizes at the end, his penis has been smushed.
Yes.
His leg has a giant millstone through it. He's looking out the window and he realizes that the constellations that she drew, like the three beggars, are not real constellations. They're not in the sky. He says out loud, he's like, there's no such constellations. Which to me is the revelation that, like, all of this, like, this sense of, like, evil and weight that they've been sort of wrestling with is not actually out there. It's in us. And, like, we bring it to the world. And it's, like, a fundamentally human problem, which I think is really interesting given the way, like, the movie proceeds from that point, and the fact that he basically shows himself to be the same as her. It's kind of like Killing of the Sacred Deer in that it's, like, quintessentially, like, anti-modern, the antisepticness of modern clinical therapy and things like that.
He does, like, the experiments on her, or tries to do, like, the fear exposure thing, and it's not very successful.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
He views the shadow as something that can be conquered instead of something that's just a part of us.
Something that has to be integrated.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know about the Jungian angle. I saw the movie once and didn't look a whole lot more into it besides, like, the Kino Corners video essay. But that's actually a really interesting part of it. I have to look into that more.
Yeah. Huh. So that's about as much as I have to say about Antichrist. It is not a movie for everybody.
No, I would treat it like an NC-17.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
It's not rated, but don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
It is extreme.
I also forgot, like, how effective it is as a horror movie in, like, the last third. Like, it, and just, like, with traditional horror movie beats of, like, jump scares and stuff, it works really well. So.
Yeah. I remember they worked with, like, animals too, and that was, like, a huge mistake because that crow was, like, not cooperating.
Oh, really?
Kino Corner mentioned that because there's, like, 3 things you shouldn't, like, do, and one of them is, like, or, like, 3 things you shouldn't work with, like, outdoors, weather, and, like, animals or something, because they tend to be uncooperative. And the animals were not very good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Huh.
But very cool.
Yeah. All
right. I like how our first films, or, like, our number 5s, all involve suicide.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my list is pretty dark, so
definitely. Well, the darkest film on my list is next, and it's another extreme example from the same year. It's Dogtooth from 2009, directed by the beautiful Yorgos Lanthimos. that beautiful boy.
Which this movie is also on my list at number 3, so
okay.
I think we might as well just both talk through it.
Yeah, we'll do it simultaneously.
You know, everybody talks about the 2007 doubleheader of There Will Be Blood and
No Country
for Old Men. Nobody talks about the 2009 doubleheader of extreme European movies.
Well, there's a reason why. Most people are scared. Most people have a soul.
Fair.
Yeah, but so Dogtooth is about a family that live in, like, a compound, and the 3 adult children are basically imprisoned there. They're brainwashed. They have been taught complete lies, and even on a very fundamental level, like, they've been taught that, like, the pepper is, like, the phone or something like that. And basically the parents are trying to keep them in prison there. And it's weird because it's very much like Killing of the Sacred Deer and all of Lanthimos' other stuff. It's very much it's very unethical. It's an unethical, like, experiment on human beings. And it's basically trying to say, like, people can be, like, lied to or, like, convinced of lies, especially when you don't know any better. But is there something that, like, you can't really stamp out? Like, is there something that the parents cannot stamp out? And there are at least 2 things that they can't stamp out. One is that the boy is, like, having, like, sex drive, basically, and they need to deal with that in some way. And 2 is this desire for freedom that you see in, I think, the eldest girl. And she, no matter what, like, she will, like, follow the rules of that she knows that the parents have set to get free, but that still is there, and that's something they couldn't really take away from her. And there's a lot more to unpack about that, but yeah, I think the most interesting thing about it, especially in Lanthimos' whole filmography, is that it's so... Lanthimos' films take place in the wider world. This one feels like it could take place in any world, just because you only really get to see what's going on in the compound. You get some stuff outside of that, but the really strange stuff happens in there. So you feel like that could actually like happen in the real world, whereas like there's something really wrong with the world in The Lobster, for example. It's just like fundamentally different from our own. Yeah. So
this family, if they, barring the fact that they speak Greek, could be like up the road from you.
Oh yeah, they could live here in Northern Virginia. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's such an odd entry in Lanthimos' catalog in that it is kind of humanistic underneath all of the... And this movie is like graphically sexual, graphically violent, like there's a lot of crazy, and just uncomfortable. Yeah. Just a deeply uncomfortable movie.
Yeah, this is another one that is not rated, that you should treat as an NC-17.
Yeah. But oddly humanistic in its ultimate outlook, which is probably why I like it the most out of Lanthimos' movies that I've seen. I've seen almost all of them at this point. But yeah, it's just a really... It strikes me always as post-Soviet, and I know the Greeks were never actually in the Soviet Union.
No, they were never... They were always in the western side of it. But they were... a lot of Europe kind of looks like that, especially in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, and in visually it looks post-Soviet, but also just thematically, like... It really feels like an examination of what authoritarianism can and can't succeed in doing. Yes. And it gives authoritarianism its due. Like, you're introduced fairly early in the movie to the, like, pretty complex ways in which the parents kind of, like, suppress the kids and, like, deal with curiosity. They've got a lot of good plans to, like, avoid the human tendencies that might fuck up their plan. Mm-hmm. But there is still, like you said, like, a couple of really indomitable drives that authoritarians just can't quite get a hold of.
It's interesting because there's that one scene where like their like toy plane flies out, or like is like outside the gate, and you have to get the father to like drive the car out to pick it up and drive it back in. And in that scene, like any of them could easily have just run out, but they don't. There's no sense that they really even have thought of it that way, or that it's like they don't even like look and see like longingly out and like freedom. They just like want their plane back, and this is the way that they know how to get their plane back. Mm-hmm. So it's very strange because the way that the eldest sister gets her freedom is she knows that she needs to get her dog tooth out because that's what her parents said, like the canine. So she like beats it out with a dumbbell. Yeah, it's like her.
Because the parents have told her that it will fall out one day, and then she's allowed to leave the compound. Yeah, once that happens.
But it's very interesting how she like follows that rule. She also, the way she gets out of the compound is she gets into the back of the trunk, and the car leaves. She doesn't just like try to get out because she thinks it's dangerous on the other side. So she's like still working under that assumption, even though it's untrue. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting how like they were able to do so much and infect them in so many like fundamental ways, and like even that like drive to freedom was like expressed in that specific way, like in the way that she was taught to express it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's an interesting point.
That's what I love about Lanthimos, is that you can have that like those very specific like insights into people. Yeah, and it's just like it's so compelling.
I know you're also kind of a casual fan of like etymology and like language and like science of language. This is very much a movie about language. Definitely. We alluded to like they've basically taken the words for a lot of like dangerous or potentially paradigm breaking technologies and things, and just assigned those words to like meaningless objects like the pepper grinder
being phone, so you can't call outside. Like yes, like they probably had never. I don't think they'd ever seen a phone, like an actual telephone. Yeah. Except for maybe in a movie or something. But...
And if someone says phone or something in a movie or a song, they just think it's pepper.
Yeah.
So it's a very effective way of like trying to control the concepts that can enter someone's mind.
It's like a localized 1984 thing where they like blot out words or stuff, or like change the meaning of words. Yeah. It's like that, but in like a not like a worldwide, or like a, I guess it would be in the UK or whatever, but like in this specific like compound. I think that's also part of what makes it so like unnerving and why a lot of people don't like it, just because of how, on top of being explicit, it's like it's very realistic in how it depicts it. Like this could actually be going on.
Yeah.
So unlike The Lobster or something.
Yeah, it doesn't really pull any punches. I also do love the way it looks visually.
Same.
Like, it's kind of different than other Lanthimos movies. It just has like this very. It's hard to describe like what the visual style is. Like grounded.
It's very green.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's certain like shot compositions that come to mind, but I don't know how to explain them. Like it has a very unique style, like a very unique like visual composition style that you will have to just watch it and see.
Yeah.
The lack of music also definitely it feels a lot more like acerbic or a lot more sparse than a lot of Lanthimos' stuff. Because like you can watch like The Lobster or The Killing of the Sacred Deer or especially like Favorite of Poor Things, which are just like full of music. This one is like stripped down. It's like not like whimsical at all. So I think that also will throw people off. But that's part of why I think I like it, and I assume you probably do too for that reason.
Yeah, I'm a big sucker for movies that don't have diegetic music in them. I just think it can be. It's great in a lot of movies, but it can be a distraction, or it can like be comforting because it reminds you that you're watching a movie, and so it can be very unsettling when you're just in like an awful, uncomfortable scene, and there's no background noise at all. You're just there in it. It's a good way to force the viewer to like really confront the reality of what they're seeing and not be not viewed as just like simple entertainment.
Definitely. Also, it's very interesting because for the sexual stuff, how they satisfy the son is that they get a prostitute, or not even a prostitute, just some girl that who functions as one in the story, and this girl is the one who like introduces like outside products into the world. Like she's the one who gives them like Rocky and Jaws, like the VHSs, and then that like sets off a lot of the plot. So it's very interesting how like that solution ended up causing, and at least from the parents' perspective, it caused more problems for them. And then they did the most disgusting thing ever, where they just like make the son have sex with both his sisters.
Yeah.
This film is pretty gross. Like the parents,
it's fucked up.
The parents do some just absolute vile things.
But again, it makes me think of like the Soviet Union and like I don't actually know how true this stuff is, but I've always heard that like it was hard to keep out like rock and roll radio broadcasts from like the western side of Germany and like blue jeans and stuff like that making it in just made it really difficult to preserve authoritarian communism because people were just getting these tastes and glimpses of a different way of doing things. And once that camel's nose gets in under the tent flap, like it's only a matter of time until people figure out that they don't want to be a part of this anymore.
Yeah, that was the whole Gorbachev thing, remember, where he like let people watch American TV or like Western TV.
Yeah, Glasnost.
Yeah, and then they like saw Domino's ads where you could like get Domino's super cheap, and it was either 30 minutes hot or it was a free pizza. And people got resentful over that one. I would be resenting if I lived in communist Russia, like basically standing in line in Siberia for like some bread, and saw a Domino's ad in the U.S. I would be pissed. So stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely a very anti-authoritarian movie. It tickles my political funny bone. So
yeah, it definitely exposes authoritarianism as like not that effective. Ultimately, effective in certain ways, but not like in a basic fundamental way. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Cool. So that's your number 4, my number 3.
Yep. So what is your number 4?
So I suspect this is also on your list. There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson, 2007.
This is my number 2.
Okay.
So that was pretty high up.
I thought there was going to be plenty of overlap on this list. We like a lot of the same 2000s movies.
It's true.
I feel like with There Will Be Blood, I don't know if you sort of feel this way. It's almost intimidating to talk about just because it's so acclaimed and well known, and it's like, what can I really add to the discussion about There Will Be Blood that our kind listener has not heard a dozen times before?
It's fair. Everyone knows what it's about now.
Everyone knows what it's about. Everyone probably agrees with a lot of the things I have to say, but it's still worth saying that like Daniel Day-Lewis in this is incredible. And his performance takes a PG-13 movie and gives it such a hard edge. It gives it the hard edge that like Code era Hollywood films have, where they're able to be like mean and like cruel in kind of subtle ways, but that are also kind of different, that we've like lost a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It's hard to explain. We'll talk about that in our bonus video on There Will Be Blood.
Yeah. Like,
Patreon.
He's just so brutal to others. He's such a Nietzschean hero, you know? And it's just obviously the famous final scenes that have been memed to death, but are still incredibly cold. Just all the great lines about, you know, like, you're the afterbirth and stuff like that. That character, the writing behind the character, the performance, all of it is just... He is the movie. Like, Daniel Plainview is There Will Be Blood, and you can't take your eyes off him.
Yeah, he's one of the best performances of the decade, of my lifetime, probably.
Yeah,
this is an insane role.
Yeah, and it's a true epic, you know, in a sense that probably I don't think has really been replicated since. I love that about it. You just feel really transported. Got a great soundtrack, but I'm curious for what your thoughts are. Like,
the main thing for me, I really like how it's basically just like drama distilled to its like most basic form. So Paul Thomas Anderson talks about like his idea of cinema is you have two people who are in conflict, which is like pretty fundamental to a drama, but that's like the central idea of like how this film is built. Is that you have like Daniel Plainview and you have Eli Sunday, and they're like completely against each other, but not. It's interesting because on the surface they're like, it's not quite on the surface. Like, I don't think that Eli rejects Plainview for religious reasons. I think that's more of a front. But basically, the whole film is them trying to gain power over each other, even in very subtle ways. Like when the oil well is like built, Eli Sunday comes up and says, I want to say a prayer to like dedicate this to the Lord, and Daniel's Plainview is like, sure, you can do that, but when the day comes, he just like completely like throws that out the window, and it's like, it's just kind of like a small like power game in that like that specific way. Mm-hmm. But I know it's a bit controversial, but I think the ending is perfect. I love that last scene so much. I think it takes everything that's building and just makes it like into this explosive like cathartic ending, and it's the perfect drama scene. Like this is like amazing.
Are there people that don't like that scene?
A lot of people don't like it.
Really?
It's because of the milkshake stuff, and people think it's corny.
It's baller as hell.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, it's the most satisfying thing. Even no matter how you feel about like who's good or bad, like when Daniel Plainview is like smashing that guy's face in, it's like so satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and just like, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I feel like those lines, like the milkshake line and the afterbirth line, like the reason they stick in people's heads is because they are just such devastating things to say to somebody.
Yeah, that's like horrifying.
Yeah.
Imagine me calling an afterbirth.
Yeah.
That's like horrible.
Yeah.
It is interesting because, I mean, the film is technically rated R, but this is
really?
Yeah, it's yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought it was PG-13.
It should be PG-13. That's my point.
Okay.
It's rated R because at the very end, like his head gets bashed in and there's like this pool of blood, and that's why.
Okay.
Which I think is stupid.
Yeah.
Like we live in a world where Temple of Doom is rated PG. Why is There Will Be Blood rated R?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
That's
but
fair.
It doesn't change the fact that it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So
100%. I feel like the only reason it isn't further up for me is simply just because, like, it's not anything about its perfection as a movie. I just emotionally resonate with it just a skosh less than the other three. Like, even Dogtooth, you know, we talked about, like, just politically, I kind of agree with a lot of what it has to say, and so I resonate with that aspect of it. But yeah, it's a perfect movie. It's a fantastic film.
It's great. I love this film on like a cathartic level. That's the main thing for me. So that's why it's my number 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, perfect. Okay. So the number 3 for me, the other side of that double bill was No Country for Old Men, and that's my number 3.
Yeah.
This is by Joel and Ethan Coen. I'm a little mixed on the Coens in general. I like them, but I also feel like they can be a little weightless at times, or a little meaningless, and especially in like A Serious Man, it's just like pure nihilism, which I struggle with that one. But I mean, this one is also like nihilistic in a sense, but I think it works really well as being their most serious film in terms of just like being a pretty straightforward thriller overall. Like it's just a cat and mouse, but the way they tell the story is really effective. So there's like the scene when he's in the hotel. It's like the hotel where the guy at the bottom has like cats, the hotel clerk. So there's this part where he's like looking through the money and he finds like it's basically like the tracker. And then he hears a noise downstairs. So he calls the front desk and you can hear the ringing downstairs. That sort of thing is very subtle and very compelling because it gives you like 1 + 1 and then you have to conclude 2. The point being, Anton Chigurh's downstairs, he's coming up to find you. So that kind of storytelling is all over this movie, and I think that's like a really interesting achievement from the Coen brothers that they're able to do that so effectively. But also, we watched this very recently. I really like I connect with like religious themes or biblical themes, and this one's very much like, you were greedy and you're going to be punished. So yeah, it's kind of like that. But yeah. Fate does come for everyone, and it comes for Chigurh as well. So yeah. it's not that easy.
Yeah, this was probably my number 6.
Okay.
If I did a top 10 list, this would be my number 6.
Okay.
So it's not in my top 5. I felt comfortable leaving it off my honorable mentions because I knew it would be in your top 5, and we get a chance to talk about it. I love the final scene, not the final, one of the last scenes with Chigurh, where he's gonna, spoilers, he's gonna kill the wife, and she's kind of pleading with him not to do it. He specifically pleads with him not to use a coin to decide whether someone will live or die. And he just has this moment of like genuine puzzlement, this expression of like genuine puzzlement on his face, and he's like, "The coin got here the same way I did," And what a great little bow on that character to just completely tie out and summarize and explain like what he is and why he is the way he is.
Definitely,
he is the personification of just like a mechanistic view of the universe and just like a scientistic like, man is just an animal, like. Why shouldn't a coin decide your fate? Like, I'm just a series of neurons firing randomly. Like it's no different.
Yeah, it's it's a very nihilistic or like materialist way of thinking about it. Like he's just like, and it's like Hobbesian. That's the word.
Yeah, Hobbesian is a great way to describe it.
I feel like he would be like the ultimate Hobbesian. He's just like, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
Also, Javier Bardem is amazing.
Yeah.
He's like, he sells the fact that he's an animal and like a force of nature, but also like still believably being a human being, which is incredible. Like he's terrifying.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like he isn't exactly. He's kind of a serial killer. It's not like a serial killer movie exactly.
No,
but he feels like someone you would read about or watch a YouTube video about who was a serial killer in the 70s or 80s. Mm-hmm. He just has that like eldritch, kind of unexplainable drive where it's like, why are you doing this? And it's like. Why are you asking that question? Like, the question is not even a comprehensible one to him.
Yeah, he's most serial killers, when you think of them, are like, have something going on, like, psychological in their brains. Mm-hmm. I feel like this guy has no inner life. Like, he has no inner monologue.
Yeah.
In the sense, like, he's not, like, he thinks, but he's not, like, psychologically warped. He's just, he is, but he isn't. He's, like, a force of nature.
Yeah. Well, maybe I just have, like, a different perception of, like, serial killing. But like that's kind of what I get from like a John Wayne Gacy, where it's just sort of like there's probably a lot of like bullshit that he would put up that maybe this character doesn't, but like if you try to look into that void and like grasp it, you're not gonna get anything. Like there's no
Well, yeah, I assume for like most serial killers you could like trace it back to like being raped as a kid or something.
Yeah,
whereas I don't have Javier Bardem is like he's a human being, but he's not even really a person. Yeah, so to speak.
Yeah. He's just completely embraced his animality. Yeah, I much like you. I love there's no exposition in this movie. It doesn't exposit to you ever. It just kind of unfolds.
Yeah,
so it's a lot of fun. I also really like blanking on his name now. The lead,
Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Josh Brolin is really great in this.
He's perfect. He like sells that like average guy like so well.
Yeah. I turned to you when we were watching this because it was the first time I'd seen it, and I was like, oh, don't make me like these characters. Nothing good is gonna happen to them. And he's great at like still making you care about him, even though you know he's probably gonna get killed.
And he gets killed, not even by Shiger, just like in a completely meaningless way.
Yep.
He just gets like slaughtered.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good movie. No Country for Old Men.
So number 3. So yeah, we already did number 3. Do you want to go to your? And we did my number 2. Do you want to go to your number 2?
Yes, I will go to my number 2. So I think this is going to be the first in a video full of us agreeing on things. This is probably the first genuine point of disagreement that we've had in any of these recordings.
Oh dear.
So this is Synecdoche, New York by Charlie Kaufman. From 2008. I know you are not as big a fan of this movie as I am, so we'll have to get into that.
Yeah, I feel like it could have been a better experience. I mean, like, it was fine, but, like, yeah, I'm interested to see what you have to say about it.
Yeah, so admittedly, this is a single watch movie for me. I haven't seen it more than once, and so maybe it would be somewhere different on my list the next time I watch it. But just profoundly emotionally connected with this movie while watching it. I think it was really like a right time, right place kind of thing. Mm-hmm. At its base, like, I think this is my favorite Kaufman movie. I've seen 4 of them, and this is definitely my favorite one. It perfectly distills the themes that I feel like he's always working with, which is and by the way, when I say 4, I'm counting ones that he wrote and didn't direct.
Okay.
I feel like the themes that he's always kind of grasping at are like, is there a way to kind of square yourself with the anxieties and fears of modern life, and like fear of death, fear of like getting sick and getting old, trying to find some kind of emotional catharsis that can make it okay that we are creatures that decay and fall apart, and that the world around us is constantly decaying and falling apart. There's just like a really kind of like cathartic engagement with those themes in all of the things that he's written or directed, but like in particularly in Synecdoche, New York. This is a movie about making peace with mortality at its core, and I just really love how that's explored. I will say it's a movie about a lot of things. Like we talked about how we like Tree of Life because it's kind of like an encyclopedic movie in the sense it's like trying to be about everything. This is another one of those films that like, I mean, it's literally about, like, if you open the aperture of art as wide as possible, you just try to let everything in, like, what comes out, what do we see, what do we find if we open the aperture of art as wide as it can go. And it's quixotic in that sense. It's, like, just aspiring to be, like, can we just capture, like, what it is to be alive and suffering and afraid and, like, all of those things. I think it does a really good job. I've also just realized, like, I think Philip Seymour Hoffman's probably currently my favorite actor. Like, I just really, really enjoy him as an actor. I like he's got range, but like I also really like just how he portrays characters. His characters are always like, I want to know more about them. Like they're interesting to be around, and like I care about them. And in this movie in particular, really walks a fine line between like his character is an egomaniac and super neurotic, and like has a lot of things wrong with him. And that, I think, turns a lot of people off to the movie, and fair enough. Like, it's not great to love being messed up.
Fair enough.
But at the same time, like, I do think he's a very empathetic character, and like it's hard not to see yourself in him and to like engage with his own struggle to like make peace with his mortality and like make peace with questions of meaning and things like that. So love that. Love the relationship between him and I should have written her name down. The female actress.
I don't remember. I saw this once.
Yeah, she's not in a lot of stuff either. The red-haired woman that he like has an ongoing affair with throughout the movie, and like all of his difficulties and like just relating to someone else authentically in a romantic context. It's like all there, and I feel like you could write 5 different video essays about like the themes in this movie. But I love the emotional vulnerability of it, and I guess the sincerity of it at the end of the day, because we live in a very post-sincerity world now where it's not, movies and content in generally do not directly engage with emotions like the ones this movie's trying to engage with. Yeah. And I like the fact that, even though it probably makes some people uncomfortable, that it just so straightforwardly engages with like loneliness and fear and things like that. Yeah,
we're kind of at a point where like people want more sincerity, but the bluff has been called to some degree. So unless it's very hard to like have that. You can't just be like, we need sincerity, so we're gonna have it, and even if we don't understand why it's good. Like you need to actually like know.
Yeah.
But that's part of why I'm an oldie, or like I like older films, is that they don't really deal with that problem all that much, unlike us. So there's a bit of comfort in that. I really like in this movie the concept of like the play being in this massive city, basically, and just like every little like it kind of goes back to that like quixotic idea where it's like every facet of it is you're trying to like capture every part of it, and like if you go to one part of the city, there's like maybe one family, and there's another part and you see like a school or whatever. It's just like, stuff like that. It's like it feels like in that concept everything is possible, and I think that's what makes it so compelling. Yeah, I really like. I wish more people would make. I wish there'd be another movie where they explore that too, because I feel like the possibilities are endless with that.
Yeah, it's also interesting, like, to talk about the surrealism of this movie, because it's a very different kind of surrealism than like a David Lynch surrealism. We're talking about this last night.
Yeah.
David Lynch's surrealism is very spiritual.
Definitely.
This surrealism is much more grounded and psychological, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is jarring to watch, especially if you've never seen a Charlie Kaufman before. Like, it's a super jarring watch, because basically what it does is it takes the concept of like an unreliable narrator in literature and translates it very directly into film, where like at any given moment you're experiencing what the main character feels. You're experiencing the way the world feels to him, which is non-linear, because we don't experience time in as linear a way as movies make us think we do. We're more and less conscious of time, and things move quickly, things move slowly. Sometimes in our memory when we look back, things are jumbled, so it's a little bit out of order. But also, like I love how this movie treats hypochondria. You know, like, at any given time, he's constantly like, oh, like, he's got these lumps on his leg, and, like, you look at him and you're like, oh my god, like, he is dying. And then the next scene, he's, like, back to normal.
Yeah.
And that could be, if you're not reading the movie correctly, that could just be like, oh, is this just, like, whimsy for its own sake? But the point is more to give you the experience of being inside the head of someone who is super neurotic, and, like, in that moment for him, he feels like he's dying. He feels like he's got cancer. And then the next scene, like, it's just, oh, like, it wasn't anything.
Yeah, I think that's actually a big disconnect for that actually explains like a big disconnect for me. I think that could actually like help benefit a rewatch. Like that understanding.
Yeah. And that's why what made me think of this was your point about like the play within the play, and like the idea that it gets this like recursion thing going on.
Yeah.
Where it's like is the character actually directing a play inside a giant like underground tunnel? Like, no, I don't think that's actually happening.
Yeah.
It's more like his endeavor as an artist to just like capture the essence of being alive, and in his own life actually live, actually engage with life. He's trying so hard to do that, and he thinks if he just keeps opening the aperture wider, maybe he can capture it. And then at the very end of the movie, he finally realizes that none of that is actually what it was to begin with. Which is like a hard thing. It's a very hard conclusion to put into words. You just kind of have to watch the movie and get it. But I think there's a valuable lesson there against like trying to over-engineer your life, and instead just like accepting it for what it is on a certain level. So yeah, it's a great movie. It made me cry while I was watching it. I will definitely rewatch Synecdoche, New York sometime soon. It's really good in my opinion.
All right. Wow, we're going a lot quicker than I expected, but I guess it makes sense since we have a lot of overlap.
Yeah. Yeah,
my top two, my second one was There Will Be Blood. I think my top two are the only movie, I was born in 2000. I think these are the only two movies from my lifetime that I would possibly put in like a top 10 of all time for me. The second one being There Will Be Blood. My number one, and we just watched it last night, is Mulholland Drive. This is by David Lynch. It's from 2001. And we had a lot to say about it last night, because there was a lot of like... There's a lot to be said about this film, and there's a lot of ways you can kind of approach it. We kind of came up with like three streams of like meaning. There's like the very surface level unrequited love plot, and then there's what I find most compelling above that is like the psychological Freudian ideas related to like the dream, and just like how the dream is constructed in such a way to like fulfill Naomi Watts' I don't know what her character is. Betty's, or whatever.
Well, she's Betty in the dream, and she's
Diane
in real life.
Yeah. Diane basically tried to give Diane her wish fulfillment. And then there's, above that level, there's an interpretation that's more metatextual, and it's more about, like, Diane represents David Lynch being screwed over by Hollywood. So there's a lot to unpack with that, but yeah, what I find the psychological stuff the most compelling. I really like how like carefully that dream is basically trying to like screw over her love's Camilla's boyfriend and trying to get Diane to have sex with Camilla, and then like how it like gives Diane power in the situation, and especially like how the dream is like fighting back, or like there's these moments where the dream is like pushing back against that, or like trying to say something's wrong, and those parts are like the creepiest moments in the movie for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so there's more to unpack. But what do you think of this?
Well, this is also my number one movie of the decade. Okay. And I think, you know, I have had just a very complex relationship of like viewing histories with this movie. This was the movie that made me care about movies to begin with. I watched it in a college dorm at a Christian school, hoping we weren't going to get walked in on.
Yeah.
And I just remember for days afterwards, I was in a different place. I'd never seen a movie that made me feel this way before. Never seen a movie that did things like this before. And just like felt like it communicated on a wavelength that was very purely intuitive and like spiritual, emotional, like just. And even though I didn't get all the incredibly nuanced details of the plot, which it actually is super well structured, and we were talking about this last night, we were noticing all the little things that are like perfect, right down to like Adam Kesher having a unibrow in the dream, and then in reality he doesn't, because she wants to screw him over that badly.
Yeah.
So many little nuances. But without even grasping any of that on the first watch, just the purely intuitive emotional communication from the movie was something I never experienced before. I've also had one of the worst viewing experiences in my life with this movie, which, without getting into too many details, just like had a theater audience that completely misunderstood the tone of the movie.
Yeah, they're like laughing in the most serious moments.
Yeah.
I think your audience was stupid or just like didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, and it really made me wonder. That was my most recent viewing prior to this, and so it really made me wonder if I was crazy for loving this movie or like having the relationship with it I did. And so it was great to just sit down and rewatch it and have a really good positive experience with it again, because I do think, it's just like incredibly well written. It's got to be Lynch's best written movie, I think.
Yeah.
And there's just, again, like so much to say about it potentially, but last night I was really kind of pulling out a new thread, the third one that you alluded to that had never really struck me before. It's just that I sort of feel like Diane is a stand-in for David Lynch and his relationship with the film industry, and Camilla is his love of movies and like his love of his idealization, which slowly turns into a realization about what the film industry is like. I think you see that in like the ways in which like Adam Kesher gets screwed over in the dream and like that stuff, but also just like the seediness of Hollywood. This movie, it looks awesome, but it doesn't make Hollywood look like a glamorous place. Even in the dream, while it's like being romanticized by Diane's subconscious, you still get like the kind of like gritty underbelly of it, and it's just like, ooh, this is not a nice place. Like,
you get like the people trying to like the cowboy.
Yeah,
you get the guys who are trying to force this girl into the cast, and then you get like it's this like weird room where the guy from Twin Peaks is the mustache, and he's like in his bodysuit, and there's this guy standing behind him, and it's like. Just like this completely shady thing.
The Hollywood industry is evidently run by demons in the Mulholland Drive universe.
Yeah, and the real universe, by the way.
Yeah, and the real universe. It's true. But I think like this movie, it helps explain like why David Lynch only made one other film after this. You know, he just had a lot of bad experiences in the 90s where his creativity was taken away from him, and I think also like I love this movie for its depiction of like the sexual mistreatment that exists in Hollywood. I feel like it was really ahead of its time, and that whole scene where Diane is auditioning, just from the moment she walks in, there's a ton of great things about that scene. One of which is the way that it demonstrates what the movie is doing. You've just seen this scene rehearsed and it sounds super corny.
Yeah.
And then the exact same dialogue delivered in a different context even at that theater experience where no one was like engaged, the room always goes quiet during that scene.
Oh yeah,
it's riveting.
You have to. It's
like
it grabs your attention. It grabs you by the throat, like Nosferatu.
Yeah. So that's one great thing about the scene. But then I also love that, like, from the moment she walks in, the guy that I guess he's like a producer that's like showing her in is like grabbing her boob while she's walking in, and it's just like you really see all the bad things about Hollywood in this movie. It's really honest about that stuff.
I like the what is it? I like how in the dream Diane is like overdubbed and she has like this very innocent Nancy Drew vibe, and then when that sex scene comes up, it all falls away, and you can just, like, the gaze cuts on, and that innocence is just off. Mm-hmm. And it's like that innocence was just the front to get her to that point. Like, everything is kind of designed to get you to that point. I also was telling you last night about how the first time that I guess Betty meets Rita's in the shower, which is the ultimate like vulnerable position that you could be in. You see that in like Psycho or like Just the Kill, where like women are in showers and are like their lives are in danger. That's the ultimate like moment where it puts Diane or Betty in like the ultimate position of power that she like finds her in this position. So it's very interesting how it's like geared all to, like everything is oriented in this direction. Yeah. So
and it's foreshadowing Betty/Diane as like the killer.
Yes,
which she is.
Yeah, definitely. I also really love. There's a lot of great scenes, but the Club Silencio one is amazing. It's like aesthetically, it's so rich, and it's just like the scariest thing. Like that's scarier than pretty much any horror movie or most horror movies. Yeah, just like that uncomfortable, like the truth is like bubbling up to the surface, and you can't really stop it. Mm-hmm. So,
this movie, I think. David Lynch has done a lot of innovative, or did a lot of innovative and transformative things in movies. I think Mulholland Drive is probably the most daring thing I've ever seen in terms of the emotional tones that it works with. And the way that it dares to go from, like, it deliberately starts you with something that seems kind of trite and kind of meaningless, and dares you to get bored by that. And lets you know repeatedly that there's going to be a fake thing and then a real thing, and then it actually delivers the real thing. So it does that. I love that it has like really funny moments, like the whole Adam Kesher getting persuaded to go visit the cowboy scene is so funny. He's just like, should I wear my 10-gallon hat and spurs? She's like, I really think you should go meet him. And he's like, yeah, no, it's been that kind of day. So it's got stuff like that. And then we'll immediately take you to, like, the Club Silencio scene, which is this crazy mixture of, like, really sad and beautiful, but, like, also frightening, like you said. And it's really daring to ask your audience to go through that emotional roller coaster. And you have to have a lot of confidence in your ability to communicate. And for me, like, it works. And it's really incredible that it does that.
Yeah. It's not only one of the most daring, it's one of the most successful. Yeah. Like, even, like, famed David Lynch hater Roger Ebert had to admit this was successful. Yeah. Like, it actually did work. So, this is terrific. This is, like, probably it's hard to say it's in my top 10 of all time just because I feel like there are 5 David Lynch films that could easily be in. They could all be in there for all I know. Yeah. But this is an incredible film. This is like, this is what people should aspire to do. Stuff this complex and like, daring.
Yes. 100%.
Well, I think that's it. Yeah. So thanks for listening. Don't forget to sign up for our Patreon. And
for only $50 a month, you can have all the film analysis you want.
Yeah, all the film analysis you want, which is just like,
Well, I was just going to say, to close us out, in the immortal words of Payne, the self-disemboweling fox, chaos reigns.
Yes. Chaos reigns in our Patreon. You have to pay $50 and you get like a 5-minute video once every like year, maybe, if you care. Yeah. Alright, bye.